Hi all. Today we have Amir and Mansur Nurmukhambetovs, both software engineers who most of time live and work in Netherlands, and they've been automating some cool stuff. Thank you for your time, guys. For those watching, you can write comments, questions in the chat. If you watch recording, you also feel free to write comments. We will ask our guests later synchronously, and put like, subscribe. This will allow plus 10 people to watch. Every like is like plus 10 more reach. Thank you guys for joining, and please, if you could introduce yourself and tell more about the case we will discuss today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Oskar, for this opportunity to speak here. My name is Mansur, and yeah, I live and work in the Netherlands. I finished the Bachelor's of Artificial Intelligence, and yeah, since university years, I'm already working as a machine learning engineer at a software development consulting company. And yeah, but we'll not talk about that. We'll talk more about the use case that we're doing for our parents. Amir?
Yeah, my name is Amir. I currently am a student studying computer science, Bachelor's of Computer Science. Right now, I'm part-time doing freelancing work, as well as I'm doing internal tooling for our family business.
Yeah, maybe because before we actually start talking and asking questions, I think it's good to introduce the topic of like what their business actually is. So yeah, my mom and dad, our mom and dad have their own business where it's related to wholesale and retail. They order toys from China, and then they deliver them to Kazakhstan, where they are distributed among supermarkets, shops, and being sold. And this process has a lot of tasks, which initially were based on technologies like 1S or 1S or 1C, I guess, Excel sheets, paperwork, and most of the work was dependent on like someone's memory, and sometimes numbers would not align, and it was very hard to actually keep track of what is going on sometimes, and we noticed that some stuff could be improved. And yeah, this is kind of how it started, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, pretty cool. So we're discussing how to start. Do you want to like proceed with the overall context, or I could go with the questions? How you prefer?
I think we could maybe give a quick introduction of what kind of projects I think we did. I think that would be best to kind of explain.
Yeah.
So the initial, like one of the initial projects that we began doing was like an event-based system, which allowed to track when deliveries have been made from the parents' warehouse to certain stores. And that was initial proof of concept of just trying to prove that these tasks can be automated and we can keep track of that. And it was very important because we wanted to optimize, for example, for time it takes to deliver something and track the amount of boxes that was sold. So that would be like a KPI for them. And the development was going nice, and the system was deployed. However, what we noticed is that it quickly hit a lot of roadblocks in a sense that there was no automation or no data about what kind of products there are in the warehouse. So that was like a prerequisite for this type of product first. And then another prerequisite which was missing was the client list. So the client list was big and it was stored in multiple places. So that was not there. And this didn't really allow for the system to work nice. So after that, we kind of pivoted to solving the prerequisites first, which was figuring out, well, what the products are actually, getting those managed and written down in the system, getting the photos out of the drive, and allowing it to be all automated, I guess, in that sense.
Well, this was our second application that we've built, and it was actually successful because not a lot of users. There was only one user that was actually using it, who provided the actual products by importing Excel sheets of products from China. That way, we digitized the products, and now we have a database of products. This solved one of the prerequisites for the first application, at least.
Yeah, and once we had that data, we could do operations on it, such as extracting a few products which were desired. So you can imagine from China, we order like a bunch of toys, and there's a lot of examples from like when you go to factories and see what toys they produce, there's a lot of them, and there could be like tens of thousands of them. So you don't really want to store them in the first place in Excel sheets. And now once they're all digitized, you could have we made an online store like application where to place an order, you would just go through the pictures and list the toys that you want and list the amounts. And then that would create a Excel sheet, which you just could send to your providers. And that way you could place orders. And it made it much quicker instead of just copy pasting rows of Excel sheets from one place to another one.
This sounds like multiple systems, or it's one. It's because you mentioned warehouse, and now you talk about e-commerce. Is it like several modules?
Yeah, you can think of it like that. They're all interconnected. The warehouse is dependent on the products in one application, dependent on the other application. Now we can introduce a third application that we built. There was a different situation in the workflow, in the business workflow, where it was actually quite. There was a lot of manual work required to create plans for the next week, assigning people to different tasks, and especially there could be a use case. Could be a case where a person gets sick. That means you have to restructure the whole plan again, which is quite tedious. Now, what we introduced was a planner app where a person who creates plans can assign people to different tasks at specific dates. And in case there is some kind of emergency where a person cannot do it, he or she can be replaced with a different person. Yeah.
This overall life cycle seems reverse. Normally, business customers they write some specification, product requirements, and in your case, your business customers did not initiate this. It looks like you researched like the features from similar products, and you did the requirements yourself, right?
Yes, I think it's a interesting way of doing software development, actually, because as you said, quite often what you get is you have a list of requirements that is posed by the client, and then you kind of proceed doing exactly what they say. But in our case, it was very much evolved because we're working together with our parents, and we're kind of exploring and seeing like what kind of requirements do they have. And most of the times, what they want is for the system to not really change, in the sense that it should look for all of their clients or for all of their workers exactly the same as it was before, but then automated or like simplified. So all of our products, they create exactly the same interfaces that all of the workers would expect. It's just now in a application instead of having someone do it in an Excel sheet or somewhere else. And I think it's also good to mention that you mentioned that it sounds like multiple services, and it actually is multiple services. So I think it's already like 9 or more applications that we made, and all of them are interconnected through, some of them are connected like directly through API, and some of them are connected by proxy, for example, like Excel sheets. And that could be explained by, for example, when you place an order from China, you kind of make an order there, but you don't really want to put all of the toys that you made there in this warehouse, for example, because you're not always sure if these toys are coming in exactly this quantity. So you actually get a new Excel file after communicating with the providers that okay, this is like the amount of products that we need, and then this new file is actually being imported into this application. So it's not even the case of like actually removing Excel sheets. We're removing unnecessary work that is going within them. And the users are still using Excel sheets. It's just much less or only for specific cases that they want to do themselves.
That sounds like a decent enterprise development project with lots of details. I actually have two questions in a row. How long it took you guys? You have two versions, first version, and how long it took you to do second version? I assume it was like evening kind of work out of office hours. And second question, initially I read about this project in your blog, Ugolok Mansa, in Telegram channel, and there was about scripts that you had. You saw paperwork, and then you, before doing any machine learning prediction, whatever, you had to write like scripts automating. Could you tell about this as well? What kind of scripts? I know there are probably hundreds of them or dozens, but maybe some common ones.
I think, I'm not sure if I mentioned scripts explicitly, but maybe I did. But what I really meant was like a UI interface where you press a button and it does something for you. And in a lot of cases, those scripts would be something like comparing data from this year to last year, for example. And to be able to do this, you would usually go to an Excel sheet, copy some files from here and there. And because you have multiple clients, you have to join that all together in one huge Excel sheet. And then your computer might not even manage to process all that data because Excel sheets have a physical limit, I think, on the number of rows, for example. So there is a lot of trouble that you stumble in there. And if you think about it as a data scientist or a software developer, this is the work that you can do in Python with pandas and just scripts. And we have quite a lot of like export scripts. I think Amir maybe could tell about them.
I can clarify about scripts. They're more like you hit an endpoint with, let's say, an Excel file, which can be processed. For example, several of our endpoints are based on like importing the Excel file and turning them into and storing them in the database in a correct order, in a correct way. So let's say you are importing an Excel file, it reads the products row by row and just fills out each product in the tables in the database. Yeah. Other endpoints could be like exports as well.
Also sticker generation. So
yes.
For example, on products, you quite often see like a sticker.
Barcodes.
I don't really have. Yeah, barcodes, for example.
Yeah, barcodes with description.
But normally they do this with 1S. Did you integrate with 1S as well?
No.
No.
A lot of our applications were done in a way such that we don't rely from 1S. Yes, 1S, they still own it and they still have it as a backup system, such that if our applications don't work, they have at least something to still do the work that is required. So yeah, 1S, we think of it as a backup system for our application. Yeah,
it's always guys, for those who are watching, you could type your questions in chat. We will put them out like this because I only have 2 questions left and then no more questions. So feel free to put them in chat. We will just pop them. So also there was this in this blog post of yours. Now you automated workflow, and so business users, they didn't lose their jobs. They just the nature of their work changed. Like some of the manual work they now done by machine, and they do something else. But this manual work done by some script like Python or whatever, was there any like not trusting this script? Did you have such problems? If so, how did you like train people, convince them to trust the system?
Yeah, we definitely had cases like that. And on one side, it was partially due to bad practices in software development. So maybe some edge cases were not taken into account. Sometimes it would be division or multiplication by 0. Those cases did occur. And we, after every one of them, tried to improve our practices in terms of how we develop. And we developed quite a robust system. On the other end, it was mainly the task to convince our parents that the application is actually working and doing its job as expected. We kind of introduced processes where we have long talks and discussions about the logic, and to understand that, well, Amir and I actually understand the requirements and how the logic actually works and how the steps should be taken. We propose also some edge cases which would happen, and then analyze how the application should work in those cases. And then lastly, once the application is there, it exists. It's a matter of converting the workers, moving them to the application. And that is something that our parents, mom and dad, manage. So because they're the business owners, they propose that they tell to their workers that, okay, now you have to use this Telegram bot instead of sending something to a WhatsApp group. And it's kind of mandatory. So you kind of just install Telegram, and then they begin using the bot. And just from practice, they realize that it's actually so much better, so much nicer, and people feel happier after using it, because even some of them notice that first, they don't trust the system. For example, the system says that the amount of products that has to be in this area is like 100 toys, for example. And well, the people don't trust it, because back in the day, there would be like one S, which would have certain amount of products, but then in it, you cannot really set the expected amounts. There was like issues with that. And that formed like a habit of not trusting the system. And now once there is a trust product, well, you just give them, let them experience it, let them see it. And then just by nature of it, they see that, okay, this is actually very nice. It's so nice to use. I can trust this number. And this barrier kind of lowers. And I think what's good also to mention is that the features that are introduced, they're introduced gradually. So Amir, do you want to say a bit more about that?
Sure. So additionally, yeah, the features are gradually introduced to the people. So while if you provide the application with a lot of features to, let's say, workers, they could be overwhelmed with like feature bloat, and they won't be able to be as productive as they were when they had like Excel sheets. So what we did was we built a simple application with like one function initially, so that the users can gradually be accustomed to the application, that yes, it does work. I should just click at that here, this button. This is where I do this. I can see this is where my data is stored. Now we had a lot of features, and we gradually introduced them such that the user won't be overwhelmed. And yeah, since mom and dad, our parents are very close to our workers, they can explain the steps of how to use, let's say, a new feature that was published to some application.
I had some limited experience building warehouse project in Estonia and Poland, and back like a few years ago, problems in Almaty warehouses and Europe kind of was similar. And in Europe, it was a lot of businesses were not ready for automation. With this, do you have plans to do it as a kind of side business or maybe a startup inside European Union, or no such plans?
We keep this very much in mind, because, to be honest, a lot of businesses, well, they do require some applications like to manage logistics, to manage the warehouse, to place orders. Like all of that are common tasks for, well, people who do like retail and wholesale. So it's quite natural idea to, well, actually scale this up, maybe make it multi-tenant and allow other users to be able to use it. But for now, we're focusing specifically on automating our parents' tasks because, well, let's solve like these issues first. And once this feels complete, and which we are kind of reaching the stage of already, we've automated most of the tasks, and there's like a few little stuff which is left over, maybe a few more business ideas. But the idea of actually rolling out the applications for like even the Kazakh market are on the table, and we are gonna look into them once we reach the maturity.
Also, to point out, our tools worked because we were quite close to the actual client, and because of that, our tools actually worked, and it was actually very successful. Now, if we introduce it into make it as a startup, we specifically have to be more gradual. You have to be more aligned with the customers and be very close to them to specifically build applications tailored to them.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit different. Question from Artur Juan, 6675. To what extent did you have to immerse yourself in the day-to-day operations and internal processes of your parents' toy retail business in order to design and build these automation apps? Thank you for question.
We
have continue. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
I'll just read. For example, how deeply did you need to understand things like inventory flow, sales, routines, supplier orders? Oh, that guy goes deep. Pricing, reporting, before you could translate all that into working features.
Yes, I think there's like two steps to this question. On one side, we would. Oh my God. Okay, thank you. On one hand, it would be sitting by our parents and actually analyzing how they do their work. So we would spend actually hours just sitting right next to our mom and observing every move that she does, well, copying stuff from Excel sheets and stuff like that, and asking about like, what is the process? Why is she doing something like that? Why is she not using this specific feature? And what is actually happening? And in that sense, we immersed ourselves, well, right, being right next to them. And on the other hand, it would be long discussions in the evenings, usually, to understand what is the business process. Our dad is, well, heavily invested in how every business process actually works and how everything is done. And all of it has to be structured and followed according to certain rules. So he aligns all of that, and he knows ins and outs of how everything is done. So in the end, what he does is like he writes it out on paper, shows it out, and actually most of the planning and the features are done by our dad. So he kind of imagines already like, okay, there has to be some sort of UI. You have to be somehow able to input this. It has to be nice and comfortable for everyone to use. You have to make sure that the buttons are big enough. For example, if you're making a mobile app, the buttons have to be big enough such that the user is able to click on them and not miss them. So all of this is taken into account. And yeah, our dad, I think, is the main source of ideas and how things have to be done. And he's like the domain expert. And then after taking inputs from that, we can kind of brainstorm ourselves, maybe if we notice something that could be added, and of course we propose it. Otherwise, we kind of execute it as requested. And I guess what's nice also is that we kind of talk to each other like daily, and we're on the same line and vibe. So we kind of understand each other from half a word almost. So when it actually comes to explaining, it is very easy to explain exactly what they want, and for us to understand exactly what they want, even though they don't know the right terminology in programming, for example. So yeah, I think it's very nice teamwork in this case.
They're like product owner. Your dad is experience.
Yes.
Dear guys who are watching, we have 5 minutes left. You can write your questions in chat or in recording as well. And you guys both, I read your LinkedIn profiles. You both studied in European universities, like Eindhoven, and the second one I forgot. I think Amir studied in Eindhoven and Mansur in second one, which
Groningen, University of Groningen.
They are both like super technoparks and mostly focused on science. In Kazakhstan, it's sexy to go California, also London, Manchester because football. And I don't know anyone going to Europe and to your universities, and that's why we in Kazakhstan, or at least me, my friends, we don't have any data. What is a developer community in Europe? I know some European developers are really good, and the university level really good. So I think it's really competitive. So what's your take on this? What do you see? How is the job market? Because in Kazakhstan now is for junior developers kind of difficult to get a job. A lot of juniors, but we don't have much junior positions. How do you have any like observations, if you can share, how things are going in Europe in terms of this developer community, jobs or competitiveness, projects? Yeah, thank you. And this last question from me, no more.
Yeah, I think I can start. So if you know, like in Netherlands, Eindhoven is considered to be one of the technological cities in the Netherlands. So yeah, in Eindhoven we have also PSV as a football. If I understand correctly, it's a football team, but yeah, we won't get into that. Yeah, Eindhoven is considered a technological city. There's a lot of startups, and especially there's a lot of startups, a lot of events where startups gather. Just yesterday, I was on a startup event where people pitched their ideas. It's a great community, I believe. Yeah, considering the market, I believe, yeah, right now as a junior, trying to find an internship, I'd say, is quite difficult for me personally. But I believe the market is still growing in Eindhoven, and there's a lot of opportunities, especially in Netherlands.
Yeah, I think I can follow up on that. From what I observe is that, of course, you have the big tech companies like Booking and all the others, and the community there is quite big, and I think it's quite pronounced also. I think you can see a lot of popular influencers, or not influencers, but like popular people like working there and having their own blogs, and it's very cool. But then there's also other side to the Netherlands, which is like a lot of small startups or companies that do certain smaller works. So what I've noticed, for example, is we work in a software consulting company, and I noticed that there's a lot of projects are like multiple companies working together on certain smaller parts of the application. Or, for example, startups which provide like a modem, and then another startup is providing the AI algorithm, and another startup is, I don't know, doing something else, like making a mobile app, another one is making the website, and so on. So it's like a lot of companies actually joining together and working such that they can provide the solutions. And I think that's very cool, and kind of haven't seen that anywhere before, or it's not really pronounced. And I think it's also quite popular to work in like software consulting companies, or at least maybe that's the surrounding circle I'm from. That's why that's what I noticed. Yeah.
Thank you. So the job market for juniors is kind of same like in Central Asia, as I understand. But for companies, value chain is more sophisticated, and companies work together. So it's a more mature market. We had last question from Artur. Actually, previous question was about, do you have plans to scale this? And the answer is, Artur, yes. Guys said might be they will do. And the another question, what would need to change to make this project scalable beyond your own family's business? Yeah. Oh, this is a big question.
Really depends on the different businesses. At least what I know, well, like I'm not really known. I don't really know how other business operate, if they operate in the same way as our family business does. It's understandable that, yeah, they use Excel, they use 1S. Other than that, how they operate, because our family business is quite rigorous in ways they work, and there's a lot of standard tasks that each person does, and so everyone knows what everyone does. How other businesses work is quite vague. So yeah, probably there should be some required changes to make it like scalable for other businesses. At least that's how I know.
Yeah. Adding to that, I think the solution itself has to be made generalizable, such that it's not really dependent on how our workflows are based, but rather like how it is done in the business. Maybe we could introduce our own mindset of actually doing work, because that's also kind of something that people are lacking, I guess. It's like, what is the process of actually doing something? And then they just do it like, I don't know, somehow. And so these are things that have to be talked with clients. And I think if we're going to go for scaling, actually, it would be more like adding one client, then another client, then another client, and seeing one by one, how does the application generalize and become useful for multiple parties? Because right now, for example, our connection between all of the applications that we have is like through Excel sheets. Maybe someone doesn't want that. They want it to be a direct connection, or maybe a single unified monolithic project. I'm not sure. So I think it's something that we will experiment with and kind of grow and evolve the project as the number of companies that will use it also grow.
I think this project has a great potential. With this, we will conclude. I will write to you after 1 year to see if you did some continuing with this project, and I invite you again for this.
Yes.
With some people, we do like 2-3 streams. So hopefully with you, we'll do the same. And thank you guys for your time. Thank you for questions, Artur. And other folks, you can still write in comments. And Amir and Mansur are both in LinkedIn. So if you need their contacts, you can find them. Thank you all. Have a great day. Thank you for your time, guys. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the questions.
Goodbye.
Очень круто. Спасибо.